In the last section, we discussed rolling coils. I showed you the traditional way that you might roll a coil. You could also do this vertically. And so when rolling it flat, it does tend to get flattened sides, regardless of how often you pinch it or throw it down. So you can pick it up and roll it this way. And only thing that might occur is that as you roll, a coil may come off. And so personally, I don't love this technique, and instead when I am forming a hand-built either a cup or a bowl or sculpture, I tend to want to move quicker. And so I will get like a piece of clay, and instead of putting it back and forth in my hands and rolling it on the table, I will begin just to squeeze it. This is because every time that it's touching your hands and the table, and the longer that it does so, the clay dries out. And so if it's summertime and the studio is warm, or if it's nearing the end or the beginning of the year and it's warmer in your space, too much time touching the clay can lead to really dry clay. And that's when we're gonna get cracks, like you can see here. And so if I'm wanting to form a piece quickly and get the sculpture, bowl, or cup form created before I trim it, I will just get a piece of clay. This one's already kind of in a coil shape, and I will quickly squeeze it in my hand. I'm again looking for that width for this coil of perhaps a cowtail or a traditional ballpoint pen. If cowtail is a colloquial thing, I'm not certain. Once I get about the coil shape, I can roll it quickly. But then in a much shorter time, I have a more round coil. This one's a little thick, so I can continue to roll it. But I can do that technique in a matter of seconds, probably 10 seconds, and accumulate a pile. And so that's something that I am more likely to do when hand building in the studio or in my home studio today. It's imperative though that as you complete these coils, you do not allow them to set out on your plasterboard. Because even though the plaster doesn't take as much moisture out of the clay as per se like a piece of wood or your hands, they are drying out in the air, and we want to keep our clay relatively moist when forming it because that will prevent us from having to use water. When we use water on clay, especially hand-built pieces, we risk getting cracks in the bottom, and so the best approach is to keep your clay moist, perhaps with a spray bottle while you're working, so that you don't have to add a lot of water to your clay while you're forming your piece.